Welcome.
Mabuhay! Selamat datang!
Tabe!
This is ECOnnected, the podcast where we discuss the interconnectedness of people, culture, and the environment with a focus on Southeast Asian perspectives. We are Ari, Erica, Fatin, and Sumarni, a group of Southeast Asian youth bounded by our advocacy for the environment. Each week, we will talk about environmental challenges in Southeast Asia, modern and traditional conservation methods, and ways that you can connect and tune into the environment in a time where humanity continues to lose touch with the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to EConnected. This is Ari, and I'm from Brunei.
Selamat datang kembali. My name is Sumani Lamans. I'm from Indonesia.
So at EConnected, we believe in the power of the youth in shaping the future of our planet. And so today we have two wonderful youth environmental advocates here to help our listeners contextualize the challenges that we face here in Southeast Asia, and to also better understand the lenses and perspectives of today's youth.
Today we have two special guest speakers. First, we have Jonathan Yuditya Pratama. He is a Dayak Kanayan youth from Sungai Ambawang, West Kalimantan, Indonesia. He is also a nursing student in Tanjung Pura University, Pontianak. He's the founders of Sekolah Budaya Patamuan Talino, a non-formal educational platform that reconnects youth to the indigenous elders to learn about Dayak culture, tradition, wisdom, and environment. He hopes to be able to empower the children and young people in rural area to preserve the local wisdom accordance with the public health.
We also have with us here Joshua. So Joshua is currently majoring in biology at the University of Brunei Darussalam. He is the Director of Finance and Sponsorships with the ASEAN Youth Advocate Networks for the Bruneian chapter. Now, he was also the lead for Brunei's delegates for ASEAN Youth for Climate Action Dialogue to the Brunei delegation. Now, his passion for environmentalism stems from his love of cooking and where his ingredients came from. He firmly believes that cooking starts from the soil that grew them. He hoped to highlight and educate the need to practice sustainable agriculture to prevent environmental degradation.
Yeah, while we have learned briefly from the bias from our speaker, we know it's not enough to let us know who they really are. So Joe and Joshua, we would like you to introduce yourself and tell us something that's not already in the bio. Maybe Joe, do you want to start first, please?
Yes, okay. Thank you for the opportunity for me to be here with all of you as one of the speaker. I'm very excited, and I believe this is a great opportunity for me and also my platform to share about the experience that we are facing together in our community. And I want to let you know about myself. My name is Jonathan Yuditya Pratama. You can call me Joe. I am 22 years old, and I am the Dayak Youth Ambassador and Dayak environmental activist and indigenous activist from the West Kalimantan, Indonesia. And I am the founder of Sekolah Budaya Patamuan Talino, the platform for us to provide the educations and also the healthcare access for the indigenous youths and also the elders in our community. And I'm working with the community, not also for helping them to giving the educations. For I'm here standing with them to help them facing and solving the problems that we are facing together. Just like that, maybe we can continue with the Joshua. Thank you.
That's very inspiring, Joe. Joshua, please.
Thank you, Joe, for that lovely introduction. I think today's podcast is quite nice because you involve two indigenous Bornean two Dayak in this conversation. So I think I want to kind of like also introduce myself in that way. So I am my father from my father's side is Dayak Kiban, which is from Brunei, and my mom is Dayak Kayan. She's from Ulu Baram, basically. And yeah, like what he mentioned, I've been doing a lot of environmental conservation work, especially in terms of alerting. And currently, just like Jonathan would do, what I do is trying to alert in a more regional level. So what I did was trying when I was in the ASEAN level, I tried to talk to the ministers in the respective countries about the importance of indigenous people in trying to mitigate climate change. And on top of that, I think we also need to consider that I think this is a statistics from the National Geographic channel that mentioned that there's like what 5% of indigenous people in the world, but we contribute 85% of the biodiversity conservation all over the world, and that's quite immense, considering that only 5% of the population managed to work on this. And the thing is, sometimes I feel conflicted because when you go to, especially for my mom's side in Sarawak, in Ulu Baram, so just like 15 years ago, I would see it like a full flush of like forests. And then 10 years, you see like a little bit of glimpse of oil palm plantation. And then now it's like just a whole monoculture plantation. And then you go to this discussion of, okay, this some of this plantation are being owned by the people of the kampong or the people of the villages, and sometimes you feel conflicted because this palm oil actually help to fund their school, their roads. So
Yeah.
here you go, how do we preach this message of environmentalism to them? And it's hard because I'm the city guy, and if I just say this to them, it's like, oh, there was like, oh, your life is easy. You're in the city area and you don't have anything to consider. Now we're reaping the reward, the land that we have to better our standard of living, to better our school. So how do we go to, and then I think this is also one thing that I effectively listen. And I would love to know from Joe's perspective, like how does he bring this conversation? Because this is something that I am still also in a way process of learning it. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Joshua, for sharing what happened in your community. And actually, three of us, including myself, is also indigenous Dayak. I mean Dayak Ngaju, and four of us, including Ari, we are living in the same island, right, Borneo, but from three different countries: Brunei Darussalam. I think Joshua, your mother is from Sarawak, Malaysia, right? And Jonathan's from Indonesia too. So we are living in the same island, and you already mentioned about deforestation and issue that happen in your community. And I would like to hear from Joel or Jonathan perspective. Maybe some of our listener maybe not really understand what happened on the ground, because Jonathan worked very closely with the community. And maybe you can share what happened in your country, what challenges that your country are facing right now.
Yeah, thank you, Sumarni. Since I was a little kid, I was taught that is it important for us to keep our nature, because I was born in the Borneo Island. I was born in the village, and I raised in the village too. And since I was a little kid, I always really close to the nature, because yeah, I'm living with the community, and the community giving me so many experience, so many knowledge about the indigenous knowledge, especially for our Dayak tribe, the Dayak Kanayan tribe. We are the nature provide many things for us about the food and many things. So that is it like the reason why is it important for us to come back to the village, and we helping the community to help solving this issue. And actually, right now, we are facing the deforestation issue and the illegal gold mining in our community. And I am as a Dayak activist. I'm working with some of the community. The first in Sabangki, uh, Landak Regency. The second in Samabue indigenous community also in Manjalin subdistrict, Landak Regency. And we are facing two different issues. The first in Sabangki, we as the Dayak indigenous community, we are fight for about 50 years to facing and solving this issue. But actually, we as the community, we don't have power. When maybe we can imagine about 50 years ago, uh, when we still have a really great forest and the community live and get all the things in the forest. And right now, the forest almost gone, and it's because the deforestations. The local community do not have like opportunity, and also they think the government didn't get them access, the good access to having a job. So they sell their land to the um, you know to the palm oil industry, so that they work with the company. And yeah, they we are lose everything in our community. And this is one of the biggest challenges that I'm facing also as the activist. How I am here, I can help them to giving them access to shout their voice, and how we can get our rights so that the government can hear our voices also. And in the next future, we can giving them like the job, and also making a green job for them. And this is same like the Samabwe indigenous village, indigenous community that I'm working with them. Yesterday, like I told you before, uh, the leader of the community, they called me and asked me to help them how to giving the solutions about this illegal gold mining. And this is the first time I come to the Samabue indigenous forest. And actually, I really shocked when I come there. I see uh, the island near from the land near from the forest. It is like all get the illegal gold mining. And yeah, I was cry when I'm doing the trees plantations yesterday, because I just like doing reflections. I reflect myself with the community. This is the really serious challenge for us. Like this is more dangerous um, than the deforestations, because I believe when the land because of the illegal gold mining happened, this is can make all the vegetations in the forest in danger, just like that. So this is how together we can maybe working with the government, but we still do not have access to shut our rights. So maybe this is will become how I can giving the solutions, how I can bring this my people to shut our voice louder and louder, so we can get the rights, just like that. Thank you.
As deforestations and because of mismanagements of
Yeah.
natural resources in Kalimantan, not only in West Kalimantan, actually in Central Kalimantan, it also impact many indigenous community and rural community. And like yeah, like Joe mentions that forest is very important for many community, and when they're losing it, it's also losing their life, right, Joe? And thank you for doing what we're doing to speak up for the community.
I think, Joe, whatever you've expressed, it really brings about the severity of whatever problems that are happening in the region, and the hardship in trying to really enact change is, I think, a really high task for you to achieve. But it's really
Yeah.
inspirational that you're trying as hard as you can, to impact
Yeah.
the community positively. So, in this matter, like, I would like to know Joshua's perspective on this. Like, what challenges, or can you paint a picture of like what the state of the environment is in your country, and what challenges do you face, Joshua? And maybe you can give a perspective on Joe's point of
Um,
view.
yeah. So I think among all of the three countries that is in Southeast Asia, I think Brunei keep their forest the most. Let's just say that. So in terms of in Brunei, like we are quite safe in the sense. Just we are quite safe in the sense because we have a lot of oil. So kind of a way, oil kind of like save us, save the forest in the sense. It's
Okay.
like, yeah, you will destruct the environment in a different way, basically. But to echo what Joe was saying, I think it's quite important. It's also like what Sumarni was saying. Like I think this is a trend not only seen in like the Indonesian part of uh, uh, Borneo. It's like even in the Malaysian part of Borneo. So you can see this like stark degradation. Like for instance, I don't know, Ari. I think we both can relate to this. Where you could see the border of Brunei and Malaysia of Miri and Brunei. It's like literally one is like a lush forest, and before it, like
It's
the
palm.
the one after it's like palm oil, just
Yeah, exactly. Stark
like
contrast.
stark contrast. So that's one thing where we could so that you can see that there is kind of like challenges. And um this is where I was like wondering, you were saying about the challenges of uh mining, right? And to my knowledge of us now, and especially in the Ulu Baram area, I've never heard like in Malaysia there is like a mining part. Maybe in like the Indonesian part of Borneo, there is like a extensive uh uh mining activity. So I was like actually like wondering, like this illegal mining, so from my perspective, because I want to know, because this is quite new, because basically usually in the part of Borneo that I live, it's always deforestation for timber and deforestation for palm oil. And okay, to some extent deforestation for farming, you can say that. But like you were saying, it's quite drastic, right, Joe? Like how there's no regulation, and then in order to extract this gold, for instance, you need to use very heavy or very harmful chemical to extract it, and it also like eliminates the value of the land, like the
Yeah.
soil, the quality will get diminished, because like I say, one of my passion is actually soil and how soils work, and like the immense of activity or artificial chemical activity in that land kind of like will mess up the whole ecosystem of the soil, because I mean the soil is like literally the first tenant of life. If like the soil is healthy, you can grow not only crops, but you can also grow trees. So I was thinking like, why is it so easy in your like in that part of the country for illegal mining activity to happen? I have two questions, but I want to hear this first, then later I'll ask another question. But thank you very much. That's a nice insight, Joe. I'm very, very happy that you share this.
Would you like to answer on that, Joe, on Josh's question?
Yeah, can you um reply the question?
So basically, why is it so easy for the illegal company illegal mining company to mine in that area? Is there no like a central, I don't know, like a governmental body there to regulate or to see, or though they don't care, or were they corrupted? So this is like a person who is new to this knowledge from my perspective and want to know an insider knowledge like yourself.
Okay, thank you. Uh, why is it very easy for the company to get access, come to the local land of the indigenous community? Because actually there is no job for the indigenous community. So there's like no, there is no chosen for there's no choose for them to yeah, to choose. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Actually, yeah. Actually, the local community cannot choose again what they can decide, just like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they do not have opportunity to get the good job. So they still the local community choose to do their work as the doing the illegal gold mining under the company.
Limited
So
job
yeah,
option ya, Joe.
yeah, no, having no options, I mean, yes. And this is when we ask the local community to stop their work. They just said like, how if we stop our job doing this illegal gold mining, so we will do not have the job, so we cannot provide the good income for our family, just like that. And also the government do not giving us, the local people, the job opportunity. So this is like one of the challenge for us. And also like there is like some of the politics, politics from the company with the local government also. So yeah, this is based on my mini research. Like some of the company giving the money for the local government so they can access illegal the land to the gold mining, just like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I'm quite new to that knowledge, because
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, thank you to you guys.
It's quite shocking, yeah, what happened here in Kalimantan, especially uh, Borneo part of Indonesia. Like many minings happen. It's not only gold mining, but also coal mining, Joe, as I mentioned. And in the beginning, Joe mentioned it's very hard for the community to speak up about what happens. And I think that what happened on the ground is more complicated now. Why there is no job options, why in the last 2 decades the forest still still beautiful, we still have many virgin forests, loose forests. But that's why maybe Joe starting what you are doing now. You are the founders of sekolah adat, sekolah budaya, right, Joe?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I will share my experience as a founder of Sekolah Budaya Patomon Talino. Yeah, actually, yeah, because some of the issue that happened in West Kalimantan, and this is like inspired me to dedicate myself to help my community and giving them like a platform to, you know, like we can unite together from the elders and also the children's and the youth, and making like um, the youth empowerment. And this is, I believe, with this movement, we can together helping to share our voice and helping the community to making to solve the problems that happen in our community. And I with my platform, I'm also connect like the indigenous knowledge from the elders. We learn together and how we can practice about our local wisdom in our daily life, just like that. And I believe with our movement, this is gonna help us to stop the deforestations, to stop the conflicts in our indigenous community. And I also thanks to some of the government also that support us in Landak area, and also when we try to build the new platform of the Sekolah Budaya in Sanggau Regency and also in Kapuas Hulu Regency. They're very support us to hear our voice and help us to get our rights. But in some of the governments also just support, they hear us, but they're like, they do not support us with the act. They just hear, but they let us lose our lands. They let us having no jobs. So this is like the big challenge that I really want we as the indigenous community, we can uh, getting our rights, because we have like the life ethos as the Dayak indigenous people, father, the forest is our father, the land is our mother, and the river is our blood. When we lose our nature, we believe that we all will die just like that. So this is very close with us as the Dayak people, and I believe like Joshua will and Sumarni will think the same with me, that we as the Dayak community, as the Dayak people, we're very close with our nature. So we don't want to lose all the opportunity with our local wisdom and everything that we have in our community, just losing because this issue, just like that. So I want from my platform and my movement with the local community, this is can inspire us. This is can be the voice for us, because I'm here. I'm not stands for myself, but I'm stands for my community, my people that do not have the voice, just like that. So yeah, so Marnie, I'm very thanks for all the youth and all the people that still support us, and I believe the support is very important to make us can stand together. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. Yeah.
standing strong, yeah, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you elaborate more about what you are doing in the sekolah budaya? Like for example, you are a
Yeah.
sape player, right? Maybe our viewer here not really understand about sape, the instrument music that you play. Do you also teaching the student, like for
Yeah.
example, about the sape,
Yeah.
or about local trees in your forest, and how about reconnecting the youth with the elders, what you are doing together in your sekolah budaya?
Okay, thank you, Sumarni. In Sekolah Budaya, we do so many things because we believe like the nature is our friends, the forest is our shelter, and the culture is our identity. So in Sekolah Budaya, we learn not only from what we see, but we more doing it in the practice. And we learn not only in the building, but we learn in the nature, just like that. We with the children's, we connect the indigenous knowledge from the elders, and we share that knowledge to the children's, and also we share it to the youth. So we can doing like the learnings about its own nature, about the environment, and we do some of the actions like making the reforestations from the uh, plantations program, and also we learned about the traditional musics, and I teach the childrens about how we can play the traditional music, especially the Dayak Kanayan traditional musics. It's like the dao, gong, and soleng. Soleng is like the flutes instruments, yeah. And we with the youth also, we learn about the traditional medicines plants, and I also, as the nursing students, and my father is a doctor, we collaborate with the community to provide the free access for them to, yeah, about the healthcare access, just like that. So sometimes when we are doing like the climate, like the mobile clinics in the indigenous community, so they can like get the free access about the medicines, and they can pay with the like the the plans, and also like with the all the things that they have um, in the community, not only with the money, just like that. And we are doing like also working with the customary forest, and doing like the monitor about what we do in the Samabue customary forest, about the illegal minings that happened, and how to solve the conflicts also, just like that, Kak Sumarni. Yeah, thank you.
Wow,
Yeah, wow.
Joe, I think that's really interesting. You've sort of like
Yeah,
through the traditional instruments that you have in your community, you basically
yeah,
sort of like disseminate, the knowledge,
yeah,
tradition and culture to generations, even like other people in the community. And I think that
yeah,
really is what keeps it alive. And also not only that, but also like the plants, also toys, as you said, right, where you introduce to people in these sort of like healthcare facilities. And I
yeah,
think all around, I think that's something that I think will
yeah,
keep your community alive and strong, and it gives an identity as well at the same time. Well, okay, let's hear more from Josh here. So
yeah.
Josh, when you actually begin being an environmental advocate, what made you be the environmental activist that you are today?
I think that that's usually my go-to question when people ask how do I start. So basically when I joined Ayan, it wasn't because it was I'm passionate about environmentalism. It's more of I in Brunei at least, the Dayak people, who is the indigenous people of Borneo in Brunei, they are not considered as the Rakyat Jati. So we are not considered as the indigenous people in Brunei's constitution. So that's insane, basically. It's like, why are we not inside the constitution and said considered one of the indigenous community? That's first. And so I met another friend and I attended his a platform when that and during that time it was just all Dayak youth in Brunei and explaining just like what are the suffering, because especially I mean in Brunei at least, the Ibans, most of the Dayak here are Iban, and also Lun Bawang, or not dusun, no, yeah, the Lunbang people and the Iban people. So they are one of the common kind of like Dayak people who inhabit the in Brunei. So we meet each other and then we talk. We also bring some dusun as well, and so we talk like what are the challenges, what are the struggles, and then like so for one of the instances was like we all often got clumped together as Malay people because we look like Malay. So like, and then even when we speak Malay like a Malay people. But then when you come to there's a whole kind of like identity crisis where you hang out with them, and it's like there's like certain level like, that's not what I do, or that's not what we do at home. So basically that differences, although we look similar, but the culture differences was immense. The first time when we were there, it was quite nice to actually talk intellectually, because in Brunei, we were taken like a people, like every time during National Day, we use our traditional dances and then dance in front of the Sultan, and then that's it. It was never more. There was like, what I like, we are just our traditional dresses. It was never like, oh, what are your thoughts on this? So that was a first platform, which is great, in a sense where you talk about like the differences, the challenges, basically just idea. Like we are often left out in the decision making of the country as well. So what I was aiming was to at least make people notice that we exist. And whenever they were doing legislative changes, they were doing laws, they need to remember that we exist, that we can also help to realize the vision of the country as well. So that's first. And second, I saw an opportunity in the sense where I saw like the National Geographic how to say this, statistics that says that 5% of indigenous people actually help to do the forest. So during that time, I was like, oh, this is like, I I was like, I feel like my role here is to highlight people like Joe, people like Kenan Tegar. I don't know if you knew, he's one of the Dayak Iban in Sungai Utek. Like
Yes, I
just
know Jika
yeah.
Kinan.
So like I was like, my role is just like, what I want to do is I want to highlight these people who has done work, who has done the hard work but doesn't have the platform. So I had the extreme privilege to actually meet with one of the Indonesian environmental Minister of Environmental, I think Siti Norbakar, Dr. Siti Norbakar. And at first I Siti Norbakar, I think her name.
Siti Nurbaya.
Siti Nobaya, sorry, Siti Nobaya. But and I had a dialogue with her. So after the whole event, I talked to her. Okay, this is what we happened. This was what was happening basically in the, because during that time I was only exposed to the Sarawak side and Brunei side of Borneo. So I was just saying on in Borneo, and I'm sure as well here there's this, and I said like this event should not be just a thought event. We should do action. But when we got to COP26, I heard during the COP26, I think Jokowi was actually agreeing on certain like legislative agreement in the COP26 agreement. But the environmental minister was like, oh, I don't think we can do this because we need to protect the infrastructure development of Indonesia. And then you're like, you see this flip-flop, because in front of me, she was saying that, she's like, oh yeah, I agree, whatever you do, it's so nice to see young people. And then on another article, on another interview, she said like, oh, we need to protect development and all that stuff. And I was like, oh man, this is quite sad, because during that time it felt real. And this is how you know they are politicians in a sense, because they make you feel like you're a part of something. But the thing is, although I know, yes, she said this part, like I never aim to do a radical change. What I am is to highlight basically people like Joe, people like Kenan exist. There's also people like Matthew Ngao in Sarawak also exist, and they're doing something to protect, and not only protect but to expand the influence of the Dayak culture to the world. And I feel like once people know our existence, and slowly I think it is being taught. Like just like 5 years ago, nobody would consider that indigenous people play a huge role in biodiversity conservation. So I think there's steps are going there, although it's slow. We just need to push through to go to that direction where we aim to reach, and eventually, hopefully, in due time, we could actually make a difference. And I don't want to say it with extreme optimism, but I want to say it with like there are little changes, and if we try to see it from a fresh perspective, and for me at least, that's something.
Exactly. And I think, small steps are really important. And normally just highlighting these issues to more people could just bring about, that actually these communities exist. And, and that also adds to the speciality of the identity of Southeast Asia in retrospect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing, Joshua, how you mainstreaming, trying to provide platform to highlight the indigenous wisdom, the indigenous youth also who fight in the front line for protecting the environment and also preserving the cultures. And is that a reason for you to join the ASEAN Youth Advocate? And would you like to share more about with us what does your organization do in ASEAN Youth Advocate Network in Brunei chapter?
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, we do a lot of stuff. Actually, it's one of our kind of like a strength and a weakness, because we do poverty evaluation. We also do like environmental awareness. We also do minority, like empowering minority as well. And so far, that is one of the three biggest events that we are working on. So as like too far, I think the most biggest event is the ASEAN UCAN event that we did before, and also the ASEAN Youth Forum event prior to the AYC, or prior to ASEAN UCAN. And basically ASEAN UCAN is a project which I lead, and along with me was also the Brunei Climate Change Secretariat. So I was so quite fortunate actually, because the ASEAN UCAN was supposedly not was just a youth event. Usually youth event are not put in something like a legislative paper or a policy paper basically. But to my surprise, so after the event was done, during the last days of the ASEAN Summit in Brunei, Brunei actually added our ASEAN UCAN initiative inside the policy paper. So it was an ingrained policy paper inside ASEAN. So that further increased the validity of what we were talking. So that's small steps at least. And what I'm at least right now trying to do is, because Cambodia is hosting the next ASEAN, what I aim is to meet with the team over in Cambodia to do back this event, to host the ASEAN UCAN initiative. And I think we're supposed to meet them on Monday. So what I'm going to do is basically tell them, okay, this is what you need to do. This is why do we need to do this? And then this is basically during our time, what are the topics that we focus on. And one particular thing that I focused on was the faith-based initiative. It's also something that I'm working on with East West Center in Hawaii. That's one of my program that I run. So with faith-based initiative also comes cultural initiative. So what I come is I just bring the indigenous knowledge in Borneo, and how it helps to conserve the biodiversity in this specific area. And in that sense, it was like a more like an ASEAN region activity. Or not only that, but you also get exposed to people in the States as well. And so far I've been blessed because the East West Center people has been very supportive of it. Like they, even when I share it, when I shared the faith-based initiative idea to the kind of like ASEAN Secretariat office, they were like, oh, this is actually something new that we never heard of. And I was like, oh, this is, yeah, for me at least during that time, it was something new as well. So that was one of the things that I learned over in during my time in YCD in East West Center. So yeah.
That's really cool to hear, Josh. Like the ASEAN UCAN, actually Brunei has implemented some of the outcomes in their policy papers, you said, right?
Yeah.
And did that give you sort of a bit more optimism and maybe like, kind of, do you plan to introduce sort of like, as you said, like you wanted to highlight, the indigenous communities.
Yeah.
Are you planning on that? For example, if the ASEAN UCAN conference happens in Cambodia as well.
Yeah, of course. I think that's one thing that one of my first and foremost priority. If I don't do that, then what am I? am a shameful Dayak. Let's just say that. But that's always been my priority. At least I'm aware. Like I'm aware that, like, this is also a question where an interview that I attended, and that's like, how do I get to talk to other indigenous youth in Borneo, not only in Borneo, but in Southeast Asia, and get their voices out. And that's one thing that I struggle. And also one thing that I also, that is why I open up with that. Like, we try to kind of like preach about environmentalism to these people, but they're also like, in order for us to think about environmentalism, we have to be at a certain level of comfortableness, because if not, people are thinking about what is the next food in our plate. They are not thinking about the environment that they need to care of. So what we need to do in a sense is also alleviate the standard of living, and find that's and I don't know, like I still don't have the answer yet. So where do we find that balance of like trying to live? Because you, of course, like as a Dayak, of course you want to see more Dayak people go to university, go to college, go to school, go become smart individual. I want that to happen. But sometimes when that happens, like when you go to, like, for instance, you go to the Rumah Panjai at the Ipan Longhouse. Their longhouse is there, and then like all around it is their collective palm oil, and then they'll just sell it, and then they build houses, they build churches, they build they will maintain their long houses. And then when we go, basically, if for instance I go there and I tell them, oh, why you do this? They say, well, the government is not helping me to build all this stuff, so I have to find a way to. And then the worst part is, this is the same government who ashamed, like basically downgrade us for not taking part in consumerism or trying to develop ourselves. So, and then when we develop ourselves, we sacrifice our forest for it, and then they're like, oh yeah, we don't care about your forest anymore. So like there's not even, like, they don't understand that there was sacrifice being made there for us to be in that how to say this, that norm or standard culture norm that we kind of like face now.
Yeah. And that's like, I think back on your point there, like you really have to sort of change the mindset of people, and maybe just the system at large. You just need to think about whole capitalistic system. And there's something I want to know from, actually personally, from the both of you here. So with all these challenges that you face as an advocate, an environmental advocate, have you ever felt drained to the point of burnout? Maybe even hopelessness? Some would call it being in a constant state of eco-anxiety. So while others just have, sometimes compassion fatigue for doing all the things, but not getting, good returns that we wish. So maybe we can hear something from Joe in this area.
Thank you. Actually, sometimes, I always like think, is there any hope for us to having all this opportunity, like what the Joshua said, and Sumarni also tell, in our community, what issues that we're facing. And sometimes, yeah, I feel, and also the community feel hopeless, just like that. But when I think I feel hopeless, I'm as a leader of the community, I as their voice to bring our community to how our voice can be here to the government, and how I can bring my community future to be brighter. Yeah, I just like, I don't want to stop to helping my community, and I believe it will be any hope for me and for my community to, you know, to bring our community to be better. Because when we are fight together and we work with heart in a community, I believe one day we will get this opportunity to having like the good educations, to having the good quality of job, and also how the government can hear our voice, not only giving like the words but the actions. And yeah, I believe with the capital located in the Kalimantan, it will be make a new chance for us as the indigenous community to provide all the things that we need, just like that. And I believe one day, we that working protect our forests, protect our land in the customer forest, we can empower all the indigenous community. We can have our our own ecotourism who based with the local community, because actually I'm right now working with them how to facilitate them, and how to make it to be real in the community. And I hope one day with this new movement, we can provide the new income for the community, just like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. You know, many people face the hopeless, become hopeless because the same issue, it feels so big, and you say that you face the issue too, but how you fight, how you can stand up until now, what do you do? Maybe you can share to us, so maybe we can learn too, because sometimes I feel hopeless too.
Yeah, Sumarni, how I can face this is and become stronger and stronger every day. It because I believe I owe to them. Because when I dedicate myself to be an activist, I bring the voice of my community. So when I feel hopeless, and I think I was taught that I want to stop to be the voice of my community, I realized that I cannot do that, because this is like my responsibility. I'm proud to be Dayak, and I want to show to the world that a Dayak, especially the Dayak Kanayan indigenous community in my land, having the power to face this, to face this challenge, to solve these problems. And when I feel hopeless, I always meet the elders of the community, and we are doing the brainstorming and how we can uh, together unite, and how we can solve the problems together. Because I'm not myself, but I'm stands with all those this community, just like that. So yeah, we always like doing like the brainstorming, and also how we making the new strategy to see the governments, and also we give our voice to them to be heard, and we ask them to make real, we ask them to give us our rights to be back to the community, just like that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Joe. I think that's really something uplifting that actually some of the listeners can also implement and be inspired from. And if they ever feel like hopelessness or eco anxiety and that. Yeah, thank you, Joe. Joshua, do you want to chime in on like how do you deal with hopelessness and eco anxiety, for example?
I think it will go back to meeting like this, meeting people like Kenan, meeting people like Joe, like for in Brunei, meeting people like Elroy. So like Elroy is the person who inspired me to start this this journey in a sense, because it was nice to see people, indigenous youth in Brunei, and at least we don't get that opportunity a lot. Like we don't get no like normal question asked like, oh, how's your living, how's it different, why should our voice matter as well in this uh in this whole society in this sense. And like what he said, like going back to what you were believing, what you're working on. Obviously you need to count your lose your battle. Sometimes you lost it, like for instance that sometimes you meet some people who might seem genuine, but in face value are just actors trying to just doing their job. And it's difficult, and on top of that as well, um it's I think if you want to care about uh, big um, changes, then you will get disappointed very easily. I think you need to micromanage your disappointment. I mean, micromanage your achievement in the sense like, okay, I want to do this, and then I want to do this, and then if I can do this, I'll do this. So like you won't get drained, you won't be working too hard, because if you work to a certain level and then if for instance you fell, then you get so discouraged that you don't want to do the work, or you don't want to continue the work. So it's also good to also take care of yourself first, in the sense where you limit your expectation. You just like all of us, we're just doing our best. Like for you guys, you're doing this eco podcast, doing your best to highlight these conversations, have a dialogue session as well. So that's one of the few things that we need to consider when we want to go forward on how we want to get inspired and get back into action. But of course, I think most of us here maybe up we get energy from crowd in a sense. So like to see people get empowered, I think for me that's quite uh,
Inspiring.
yeah, inspiring. Like for me, little things like if I get to see ASEAN, you can get continue in Cambodia, I'll just they'll make up my year basically, because that's something that's my, like for instance, that's my baby. I've worked so hard on it, and that I was there from like the literal staging point. It's like office in the like literally just working, like typing question, researching what question to ask, what are the relevant issues that we need to tackle. So like little things like that, just if they continue, oh my god, that's just like that will make my year. That's it for me. So micromanage, like you cannot win the world, you have to find where are the balances in a sense. So that is my kind of like advice to people who are in the arena of advocacy basically.
Yeah, thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Joe, for being vulnerable with us. It might be hard to admit, but we are just a human after all, and we are now nearing the end. But before we close, I wanted to ask one more questions to both of you. Given all to this, do you still think it is possible to save the planet, or to reserve all the damage that human have implicated? And what is your visions for the Earth future? Maybe Joshua, you can answer the question first, because Joe is get disconnected. He is in the Rock Village now, doing his work, and then we are very happy that even with all the circumstances, he's still joining us now, and maybe he can come back after he got connected. Please,
Yeah.
Joshua.
No worries, no worries. Yeah. The how do we? Sorry, I was actually a little a little. What were the question again?
Okay, the question is, do you think it's possible to save the planet now? Thinking with
Okay.
all the damage that human already make, and and what is your vision for the Earth future?
Hmm. I'm not. I would say I'm not too pessimistic. I would say I'm a rationalist in the sense where I feel like things are being done. Things are drastically uh, uh, in some community at least. There's a drastic measure on how we should solve the climate issue. And I'm glad the narrative is changing, for instance, like including people, empowering people like us. Like I like, even for me, like I have from this from my journey as an my journey in environmentalism actually uh, reignite my roots, basically my Dayak roots. Because sometimes when you live in the city, you feel like you lose that a little bit, and sometimes you feel like undeserving to say all of this stuff because you feel like you were never in the jungle originally. I had my privileges in the sense where I had this, I had the internet. It's more like I am able to do this because I don't have to think about food in my table, basically, like what I was saying. So that's one thing that um I'm glad. So what I want to basically see is if the stand the journey to where we can kind of like solve climate change in general is basically trying to alleviate the standard of living of everyone. Like once people stop thinking about what's the food in our table, then they can have more. They can think about other stuff. It's a privilege to think about environmentalism actually, because it's like you often you only have this much of attention span to think about. And and if we were to tackle this, it's that first. We need to get people in the level playing field. And um and I feel like with the amount of development, especially like in just in the Southeast Asian region, like we are the fastest growing economy in the world. So you see, we're going there. We're going the right track. Where if you are one of the fastest economic grown region in the world, that's mean many people are alleviating themselves from poverty, in the sense that people could finally think about environmentalism in a sense. And we have environmentalism problem, and China have it as well. Like like we are in our, like, how to say this, when there's a graph, we are like in our like highest
Yeah,
yeah, higher, we're going uphill.
exactly.
And in order to do that, there's a lot of sacrifices to do. And the thing with why the European have that 100 years ago,
Yes.
the Western country have that acceleration of development 100 years ago. So now they can think about. So they should think back harder, in a sense. They should work harder so that we could also enjoy what they enjoy 100 years ago. They already reap the reward. They not only they reap the reward in their own local industry, they also reap the reward in by colonializing us as well. So they have two reward in a sense, and we don't have that. I mean, we don't get to colonize them in a sense. I'm not saying that I'm blaming them. It's just that there are things that we have to consider when we talk about um, uh, how to say this, environmentalism. Like, who should pay more? How can we go through this? So like, there's a question I think in COP26 as well. They also consider that, oh yeah, do a developing country, so we can forgive you lah, in the sense that, okay, we will limit your carbon credit. You cannot you can there's this amount of carbon that you can submit, so we give you another extra of carbon credit for you to spend on industry, basically. So basically that's one of the few things. And also I feel like, we have COP26, we keep on having the IPP6 report. So as long as we have these conferences which highlight the issues of climate change. I think that's good. I think we like if people stop suddenly stop that this is not important, then that's when we start to worry. So it's like people would say, just how much can you tolerate the change? Basically, can you tolerate this slow pace? Do you want fast pace? So wait, it's each individual level on how can you tolerate the progress. If you feel like the progress is too slow, then you can do something about it. You can talk about it. If you feel like the progress is okay right now, and you can do that, you can maybe for you it's like, okay, I'll just share in my IG in the sense. So it's also subjective on how much you can tolerate, the amount of progress you can tolerate. So yeah, I'm pro with anything. Like some people, like there's also like how to say this, the unfairness that I said about like how people in the West would say like, oh, don't buy palm oil from East Malaysia, for instance. But then, yes, like there is certain violation there, but you also need to understand they often do one shoe fit all, where they clump all of the company in one, even the indigenous like from the indigenous kampong as well. So they're all from Borneo, all from Southeast Asia cannot, because they have damaging damaging how to say this practices, but they also want to support the indigenous people. So you see that flip flop. They want to support the indigenous people, but they're just like they don't consider to think about the implication that the sanction that they do. So like it's multiple level of solutions of where you can solve the issue. And like I say, if we're talking about it, and for me at least, that is we are in the right track. As long as we still talk about it, in the right track.
Yeah. And Josh, like I think whatever that you've said in your answer there, I think it resonates with everyone here, and for the listeners who are having that same perspective as well. I hope they were enlightened in some way, just based on your experience, Josh, because I think you've experienced a lot of these things, and also you have different perspectives towards it, and I feel like it's really enlightening, at least from my perspective, to think about these like matters pertaining towards what's happening to the environment in sort of like more on a micro scale as well. Like for example, what you said was like if for example the environment, if you want to, if you're okay with like the slow paced one or the fast paced change, I think everyone has their own like perspectives towards that, and so some people like really don't like a slow change, but I think that's also imperative in the process. But
It's one of it's just not only on environmental scale, it's just in general,
in
like
general,
trying to find how much can you tolerate. Basically, it's just the fine value of it you can
a
do.
very human trait, I guess.
It's a very human trait. It's a question I don't know the answers for, and I hope in the future, as I get older, I probably have a little inkling of what. Like or even the question that I started with, like how can I get people in that indigenous like the people who were planting the palm oil to sustain their their livelihood, to get money to build the houses, to maintain their long houses, to maintain their churches, to maintain their school. It's like when I go there, and then for instance, if I go there and then I tell, oh yeah, this is so bad, we cannot do this. They're like, why? How are you going to pay for our children's school? Like, how am I going to answer that?
Just
So this is where you can also consider what new industry can replace that. And also it's also like the pressure where everything is like when you talk about the topic of palm oil, like everything use palm oil. So we need to find new derivative to take the pressure out of palm oil. Like we cannot just solely produce, like solely focus on palm oil.
Mm.
Like our
Yeah.
byproduct could be other things. So because now that we are trying to shift away from fossil fuel,
Mm.
most of our derivative is from palm oil. So it's like you replace one devil with another devil. So it's hard, right? But that's also like they are also learning, right? They're also like, okay, it's also not sustainable to remove all of the forest. That's also
Yep.
not
Yes.
that's not good. So there are like some people, like for instance, what I researched in Singapore, they are doing like biofuel from seaweed. I think that's a new development which I think it's growing in scale. We'll see how it goes. I mean, who knows, that will also be another palm oil palm oil's issue as like but like there's too many seaweed, it will kill, like disturb the whole ecosystem of the sea. So it's a learning stages as well for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joshua, for sharing your hope for the future. Unfortunately, Joe cannot join us. He got disconnected because there is a blackout in his village. And that's also one thing that maybe people do not know in Kalimantan. If there is a blackout combined with rain, it's mean there is no internet connection. So there's something that people here in village passing every single day. And actually, Joe sends me a message and sends saying to answer the very, very final questions about final message to inspire our listener. He said that we hope there are more Joshua, there are more Ari Jeffrey, and there are more Sumani Laman, and there are more Jonathans for the indigenous people, for the youth who stand up for the community to speak up and empowers others to protect what is important for them. And that's the message from Joe. And we would like to also listen to Joshua. What is your final message to inspire our listener, please?
Indigenous people, let's get empowered. We it's our time, it's our year. People are finally hearing our voices, finally acknowledging the sacrifices of our ancestor, and that's good. And that's a first step forward. And I hope this will furthermore in the future, like this we can see, like I love to have that's one thing that I long for, to see another Dayak to have this conversation, because it's very rare. Like even in university, maybe it's rare in Brunei because we are a minority, but like when I get to see like another Iban talk about like this kind of policy, just normal like intellectual discussion, that like really make me happy, because I like to see like another person who is of my race, of my stature in the sense, but able to talk about this, and like not only what you see in the television. Hopefully we'll see more of, like what is like, for instance, the Iban have our Henry Golding, so hopefully we'll see more Henry Golding there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one. I hope Henry Golding would say about the indigenous forest, like the role of indigenous people, because he is half indigenous people. So maybe if we can, he is. You don't know, Ari?
I just knew, actually. I just knew.
He is half Iban actually.
Wow.
Iban. Wow.
Yeah, the mother is Iban, and that's one thing he like. For me at least, that was a very nice thing, because he went to Ellen actually, and then he said like, "Oh, I'm actually half Iban. I'm Iban." And
Eliana Murag.
no, not Ellen Murang. Ellen
TV show.
DeGeneres. So
Oh,
he
yeah,
went
yeah,
to he went to that Ellen DeGeneres show, and then he said like, "Oh, I'm Iban from Sarawak. My mom is this." And I was like, "Oh yeah, let's go!" Like so rare to see.
Let's go.
Let's go! Like, that's so rare to see people like that. And I remember I watched what's that movie? His movie, Crazy Rich
Crazy
Asian.
Rich Asians,
I
yeah.
watched it like 3 times.
Graduation.
I watched it like 3 times. I was just so happy to see that he is.
Well, I guess you have to be a star now, Josh.
I guess so.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Joe, for your very inspiring messages, and especially for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's a very nice conversation. It's quite unfortunate to not have Joe. I hope some people screenshot meets when we were talking, because I want to have a picture with him as well just now. But
Oh yeah,
I hope you guys take a picture where we were all here when we were talking. That'd be nice.
yeah.
I think we did.
Ari will
And
do that.
yeah, Ari can do that. Yes, let's go, Ari.
Oh,
Oh,
Jonathan join us
Jonathan
now.
just
Oh my
entered.
god.
that's okay. Good.
We can start.
Nice.
We
Yay,
can
good.
have a photo now.
We have a photo now. Okay. Hi Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hi Joe.
I was lose my signals and
Yeah.
yeah.
Can we
Yo.
take a picture together? I mean,
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
take a
so
picture.
sorry.
it's all good. It's all good.
So good, so good.
That's all right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can take a picture after we finish the after this. So we are already in the final, Joe. I read your message on WhatsApp, but do you wanted to share with us what is your your message to inspire our listener, please?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kak Sumarni. And actually, I just want to say to all the millennials and to all the people who see our podcast today that always don't ever shy to show to all the people that you have a potential to serve your community, to serve all the peoples with whatever do you have with your talents, with your knowledge, because I believe it is can be a bless for all of you. And just stay positive and confidence and believe in yourself, because when you sincerely serve all this community, all the people with heart, I believe that you will having the really great things that you cannot pay it with the money, just like that.
Wow.
I just want to say also to the all the people, if not now, you want to start the actions when you wanna show it, and if not us, then who will take that actions? Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing, Joe. Thank you for your
Thank you, Joe.
very inspiring message.
Yeah.
Let's take a
Yeah,
picture.
actually that's a wrap for the episode. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We'll take pictures after we end, Josh.
Oh, is it not
Yeah.
end? I thought it
No,
was.
Yeah, it's just a bit more. Than,
Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought it was
It's okay.
Okay. That's the wrap for today's episode. Thank you for being with us today, Joshua and Joe.
Thank you very much for hosting.
Yeah. And for our listeners out there, we will see you in the next episode. So goodbye for now.
Bye.